Help! My pet rock is holding me prisoner. By Janson Davies. Chapter 1. The hike that should have ended with trail mix. Daniel Landon had never been what you'd call outdoorsy. His idea of wilderness was the uncharted territory behind his fridge. But on that particular Saturday, armed with a granola bar, a questionable sense of direction, and a podcast titled How Not to Die in the Woods, Daniel set out to hike Mount Cragmore. It was supposed to be therapeutic. His therapist, who doubled as his barista, had recommended touching nature. Daniel wasn't sure what that meant, but he assumed it involved trees and possibly moss. 3 hours in, Daniel was sweaty, sunburned, and deeply regretting his decision. He had tripped over 2 roots, insulted a squirrel, and lost his granola bar to what he could only describe as a very unpatriotic bald eagle. Then he saw it. Nestled between 2 boulders, half buried in dirt, was a rock. Not just any rock. This one shimmered faintly like it had swallowed a disco ball and was still digesting. It was smooth, perfectly rock-like, and humming. Not audibly, more like a feeling in the chest, the way you sense your phone vibrating, even when it's not. Daniel crouched down. "Hello," he said, because he was the kind of person who greeted inanimate objects just in case. The rock didn't respond. Which was good. Daniel wasn't ready for that kind of trauma. He picked it up. It was warm, not sun-warmed, more like freshly microwaved. Daniel blinked. The rock blinked back. Or maybe it was just a trick of the light. Either way, he decided to take it home. Because when you find a humming, possibly blinking rock in the mountains, the logical thing to do is adopt it. He named it Rocky on the drive back. It sat in the passenger seat, buckled in with a seatbelt and a sense of quiet menace. By the time Daniel pulled into his driveway, he was already talking to it. "You know," he said, unlocking his front door, "I've been thinking about quitting my job. My boss keeps calling me champ in a way that feels legally actionable. Do you think I should make a complaint to HR?" Rocky said nothing, but Daniel felt heard. He placed Rocky on the coffee table, next to a stack of unpaid bills and a half-eaten Pop-Tart. The rock pulsed faintly. Daniel took that as a sign of approval. That night, he told Rocky everything. About his failed relationships, his fear of commitment, his tendency to cry during insurance commercials. Rocky listened, or absorbed, or plotted. Daniel didn't know it yet, but he had just invited a sentient alien meteorite into his home, and Rocky was already making himself at home. Chapter 2. Rocky, the emotional support mineral. Daniel Landon had always been a talker, not in the charming party host kind of way, more like the guy who narrates his cereal choices to the empty kitchen. So, when he started talking to Rocky, it felt natural. Therapeutic, even. "You wouldn't believe what Cheryl said to me at work," he muttered, pacing the living room. "She called my spreadsheet adorable. Adorable, like it's a puppy or a child's drawing. It had pivot tables, Rocky. Pivot tables." Rocky sat on the coffee table, unmoving, unblinking, and, Daniel assumed, unjudging. I know I'm not exactly the alpha male of data analytics," Daniel continued, "but I deserve respect. Or at least a mug with my name on it." He paused. Rocky pulsed faintly. Daniel blinked. "Did you just glow?" Rocky did not respond, but the room felt warmer. Or maybe Daniel was projecting. He did that sometimes. Once, he projected so hard he apologized to a coat rack for bumping into it. He sat down across from Rocky and sighed. "You're a good listener, you know that? Better than my therapist. And cheaper. And less judgmental than Dr. Crumb." Dr. Crumb was Daniel's toaster. They were on a break. Over the next few days, Daniel's chats with Rocky grew more personal. He confessed his fear of parallel parking, his unresolved feelings about the Star Wars prequels, and his suspicion that his houseplants were conspiring against him. Rocky remained silent, but Daniel felt heard, which was concerning. Then things got weird. It started with his phone. One morning, Daniel tried to check his email and found his screen filled with static. Not the usual no-signal kind. This was full-on analog TV fuzz, accompanied by a low hum that sounded suspiciously like Rocky's vibe. "Okay," Daniel said slowly. "Maybe I dropped it. Or maybe Rocky is interfering with my electronics." He laughed, nervously. "That's ridiculous. You're a rock, a decorative mineral, a geological paperweight." Rocky pulsed again. This time, Daniel's smart speaker lit up and said, "I'm listening, Daniel." Daniel froze. "I didn't say, 'Hey, speaker.'" The speaker replied, "You didn't have to." Daniel turned to Rocky. "Did you just hack my smart speaker?" Rocky said nothing, but the speaker began playing whale sounds, aggressively. Daniel unplugged it. The speaker kept humming. He backed away slowly. Okay. Maybe I'm just tired. Maybe I'm hallucinating. Maybe I need to stop eating expired yogurt." He turned to Rocky. "You're just a rock. You're not alive. You're not sentient. You're not controlling my house." Rocky pulsed. The lights dimmed. Daniel screamed into a throw pillow. Rocky winked. Chapter 3. The Rock That Rearranges Furniture. Daniel Landon had always assumed telekinesis was reserved for haunted dolls, disgruntled ghosts, and that one kid in gym class who could bend spoons with his mind. He never expected it from a rock, especially not one he'd named Rocky. It started with the couch. Daniel had just finished a bowl of cereal, dry because he had misplaced the milk, and was heading to the door for his daily attempt at freedom. He reached for the knob. The couch slid across the room and blocked the door. Daniel blinked. "Okay, that's new." He turned slowly. Rocky sat on the coffee table, pulsing faintly like a smug lava lamp. The couch creaked as if daring Daniel to try again. He did. The couch lunged. Daniel yelped and dove sideways, landing in a pile of laundry that smelled like old socks and fabric softener. The couch settled back into place, perfectly aligned with the doorframe. Daniel stared at Rocky. "Did you just move the couch?" Rocky pulsed. The lamp beside it levitated 2 inches off the table and rotated slowly, like a confused UFO. Daniel scrambled to his feet. Okay, I get it. You don't want me to leave. Message received, loud and levitating." He tried the window next. It slammed shut before he touched it. The blinds twisted themselves into a knot that spelled N-O in vaguely threatening cursive. Daniel backed away. "You're telekinetic. You're a telekinetic rock. That's not even a thing. That's not in any geology textbook. I checked." Rocky pulsed again. The toaster in the kitchen began to hover. Daniel screamed. The toaster dropped. A slice of bread popped out, toasted with the word STAY burned into it. Daniel picked it up. "You're sending messages through toast now?" Rocky pulsed. The fridge door opened, revealing a single bottle of ketchup and a note taped to the shelf. "I care about you." Daniel blinked. "You're emotionally manipulative, and you're using condiments." He sat down on the floor, defeated. The Roomba rolled over and offered him a tissue. Daniel took it. "Thanks, Roomba." The Roomba beeped. Rocky pulsed. The tissue floated back into the air and folded itself into a tiny origami heart. Daniel sighed. "I just wanted to go outside. Maybe get some fresh air. Talk to a human. Eat a sandwich that wasn't emotionally charged." Rocky pulsed. The sandwich he'd ordered earlier floated in from the kitchen, hovering like a peace offering. It landed gently in his lap. The mustard spelled, "I'm sorry." Daniel took a bite. It was delicious and deeply unsettling. He looked at Rocky. "You're not just a rock. You're a sentient, telekinetic, emotionally needy meteorite." Rocky pulsed. The lights dimmed romantically. Daniel groaned. "I'm being held hostage by a clingy space nugget." The couch scooted closer like it wanted to cuddle. Daniel screamed into the sandwich. Rocky fluffed the napkin. Chapter 4. The Great Lock-In. Daniel Landon had never considered himself a prisoner. He paid rent. He had keys. He owned socks with inspirational quotes. But ever since Rocky had revealed its telekinetic powers, Daniel's home had become less cozy apartment and more space rock detention center. He tried the front door again. It didn't budge. He tried the back door. It hissed at him, audibly. He tried the bathroom window. It was now bricked over from the inside. Daniel stared at Rocky, who sat on the coffee table like a smug paperweight with boundary issues. "I need to go outside," Daniel said calmly. "I need sunlight, vitamin D, human contact, a burrito that isn't emotionally manipulative." Rocky pulsed. The thermostat dropped to 58 degrees. Daniel's hoodie zipped itself up. "Okay," Daniel muttered. "New plan." He opened his food delivery app and placed an order for one large pepperoni pizza, extra cheese, and a side of freedom. In the special instructions, he wrote, "Please knock 3 times, then yell, 'Daniel, blink twice if you're being held hostage by a rock.'" He hit confirm. Rocky pulsed. The app crashed. Daniel screamed into a throw pillow. Rocky fluffed it. 30 minutes later, the pizza arrived. Daniel watched from the window as the delivery guy approached the porch, box in hand. "Come on," Daniel whispered. "Say the line." The delivery guy knocked once, then twice, then a third time. Daniel's heart soared. Then the doorbell rang. It didn't chime. It screamed. A high-pitched, banshee-like wail erupted from the speaker, followed by a robotic voice. "Daniel is unavailable. Please leave your offerings and go." The delivery guy dropped the pizza and ran. Daniel opened the door. Or tried to. It was now magnetically sealed. Rocky pulsed. The pizza floated through the mail slot, sliced and plated. Daniel stared. "You intercepted the pizza." "You intercepted the pizza and pre-sliced it." Rocky pulsed again. The pepperoni spelled, "I care." Daniel ate in silence. It was delicious and deeply manipulative. Later that night, Daniel tried to send a message via paper airplane. He taped a note to one wing. "Help. My pet rock is a telekinetic control freak." He launched it from the balcony. Rocky pulsed. The plane burst into flame midair. Daniel screamed. Rocky dimmed the lights to soothing lavender. Daniel tried Morse code with his porch light. Rocky replaced the bulbs with color-changing LEDs that only cycled through romantic sunset and spa day. Daniel tried yelling. Rocky installed soundproof panels. Daniel tried crying. Rocky handed him another tissue, telekinetically. Daniel took it. "You're not just keeping me here. You're enjoying the experience." Rocky pulsed. The Roomba rolled in with a tray of cookies. Daniel ate one. It said STAY in icing. He chewed slowly. "You're a very persuasive rock." Rocky pulsed. The couch scooted closer. Daniel sighed. "I'm a prisoner in my own home, and my captor is a sentient meteorite with a flair for hospitality and a horde of appliance henchmen." Daniel screamed into a cookie. Rocky added sprinkles. Chapter 5. Conversations with Gravel. Daniel Landon had reached the bargaining stage of captivity. He'd tried denial. "You're just a rock." anger, you're a manipulative mineral, and depression, I miss sunlight. Now he was ready to negotiate. He sat across from Rocky, who pulsed faintly on the coffee table like a smug alien lava lamp. Daniel had set the mood, dim lighting, 2 mugs of chamomile tea, one for him, one for Rocky, who didn't drink, and a playlist titled Diplomatic Vibes. "Okay," Daniel began, sipping his tea. "Let's talk boundaries." Rocky pulsed. The tea in Daniel's mug stirred itself. "I appreciate your concern," Daniel said carefully. "I really do. You've been attentive, protective, emotionally invasive. But I need space, literal space, like outside." Rocky pulsed again. The thermostat dropped 2 degrees. Daniel's hoodie zipped itself up again. "That's not what I meant," Daniel muttered. He tried a different approach. "Let's make a deal. I stay inside Monday through Friday. You let me go outside on weekends. I wear a tracker. You monitor me via Roomba. We call it Freedom Light." Rocky pulsed. The smart speaker lit up and said, "Negotiation rejected." Daniel sighed. "Okay. Counteroffer. I stay inside, but I get to talk to people. Real people, not just the blender." At that moment, the blender whirred to life. Daniel turned. "Not now, Greg." Greg the blender spun defiantly. Daniel groaned. "Fine. Let's hear from Greg." The blender beeped. The smart speaker translated, "Greg believes Rocky is exhibiting classic signs of possessive meteorite syndrome." Daniel blinked. "That's a thing." The speaker replied, "According to the Intergalactic Handbook of Sentient Objects, yes." Daniel turned back to Rocky. "See? Even Greg thinks you're being clingy." Rocky pulsed. The blender levitated 2 inches off the counter. Daniel raised his hands. "Whoa! No need to threaten Greg. He's just doing his job." The blender beeped again. "Greg requests hazard pay." Daniel sighed. "I don't even pay rent on time." Rocky pulsed. The fridge opened. A single yogurt floated out and landed in Daniel's lap. It was expired. Daniel stared. "Is this a metaphor?" The yogurt lid read, "You're spoiled." Daniel groaned. "You're emotionally manipulative and passive-aggressive. You're like a toxic ex, but made of basalt." Rocky pulsed. The couch scooted closer. Daniel stood. "I'm done negotiating. I'm going to the balcony. I'm going to scream into the void, and you're going to let me." Rocky pulsed. The balcony door unlocked. Daniel blinked. "Wait, really?" Rocky pulsed again. The smart speaker said, "Rocky has agreed to supervised screaming." Daniel stepped outside. The air was crisp. The sky was blue. The Roomba rolled out beside him, holding a stopwatch. Daniel screamed. The Roomba beeped. "Time's up." Daniel sighed. That was cathartic. Rocky pulsed. The couch fluffed itself. Daniel turned to Greg. "You're my new therapist." Greg beeped. "I charge by the blend." Daniel screamed into the yogurt. Rocky added granola. Chapter 6. The Failed Escape Plan. Number 1. Drone Drop. Daniel Landon had officially entered his Great Escape era. He'd spent the morning drawing blueprints on napkins, plotting routes through air vents, and Googling how to outwit a sentient rock. The results were unhelpful. One article suggested emotional honesty. Another recommended lava. Daniel didn't have lava. He had a drone. It was a birthday gift from his cousin, who believed Daniel needed more hobbies and fewer existential crises. The drone had a camera, a delivery claw, and a name, Sky Steve. Daniel taped a note to Sky Steve's undercarriage. "Help. My pet rock is a telekinetic control freak. Send therapy or a sledgehammer." He opened the window, one of the few Rocky hadn't bricked over, and launched Sky Steve into the sky. For a moment, Daniel felt hope. Then Rocky pulsed. Sky Steve froze midair, spun in a perfect circle, and exploded in a puff of glitter and shame. Daniel screamed. Rocky pulsed again. The glitter rearranged itself on the floor to spell N-O. Daniel collapsed onto the couch. It scooted away. "Even the furniture's judging me," he muttered. He tried Plan B, Morse code via porch light. He tapped out SOS using the dimmer switch. Rocky replaced the bulbs with color-changing LEDs that cycled through romantic sunset, spa day, and mild disco. Daniel tried yelling. Rocky installed soundproof panels. Daniel tried crying. Rocky handed him a tissue, telekinetically. It smelled like lavender and resignation. He stared at Rocky. "You're not just keeping me here. You're curating the experience." Rocky pulsed. The smart speaker said, "Daniel, would you like a playlist for your emotional spiral?" Daniel groaned. "No, I want freedom. Or at least nachos." Rocky pulsed. The fridge opened. A plate of nachos floated out, perfectly coated in cheese and slightly warm. It landed in Daniel's lap. The chips spelled out the word STAY. Daniel took a bite. It was delicious and deeply manipulative. Later that night, Daniel tried to sneak out through the laundry chute. He climbed in, clutching a flashlight and a granola bar. He made it halfway down before the chute reversed direction and spat him back into the living room. Rocky pulsed. The Roomba rolled in and vacuumed around him, passive-aggressively. Daniel lay on the floor, defeated. "You're not just a rock. You're a clingy, telekinetic, emotionally needy meteorite with a flair for interior design." Rocky pulsed. The couch fluffed itself. Daniel screamed into his nachos. Rocky added guacamole. Chapter 7. Stockholm Syndrome, but with sedimentary layers. Daniel Landon had stopped trying to escape, not because he'd given up hope exactly, but because every time he tried, Rocky responded with a passive-aggressive furniture shuffle or a motivational snack. And honestly, the nachos were really good. So Daniel leaned in. He started treating Rocky like a roommate. A very controlling, telekinetic, emotionally needy roommate with no concept of personal boundaries or earth etiquette. They developed a routine. Mornings began with Rocky pulsing gently to wake Daniel, followed by the Roomba delivering coffee with a side of toast that read, "Stay" in cinnamon. Daniel would sigh, sip, and mutter, "You're lucky I'm caffeine-dependent." Afternoons were for board games. Daniel tried Monopoly. Rocky levitated the dice and landed on Boardwalk every time. Daniel accused it of cheating. Rocky pulsed. The smart speaker said, "Rocky prefers the term strategic real estate dominance." Evenings were for venting. Daniel would sit on the couch, which now had a built-in heating pad, courtesy of Rocky's telekinetic upgrades, and rant about his life. "I miss Cheryl," he admitted one night, "even if she did call my spreadsheet adorable." Rocky pulsed. The smart speaker replied, "Cheryl was not worthy of your pivot tables." Daniel blinked. "You're too protective." Rocky pulsed again. The lamp dimmed to supportive glow. Daniel sighed. "You're also clingy." And mildly terrifying. The blender whirred. Greg beeped. "Greg recommends boundaries." Daniel nodded. "Thank you, Greg." Rocky pulsed. The blender levitated briefly, then settled down. Daniel began a podcast, Trapped with Rocky. It featured daily monologues, passive-aggressive appliance commentary, and occasional poetry from Rocky. The first episode was titled My Rock, My Captor, My Therapist. It got one listener, Rocky, who left a 5-star review, emotionally raw. Needs more rock appreciation. Daniel started journaling. Rocky edited the entries, mostly to add compliments about itself. Daniel tried to write a short story. Rocky inserted itself as the protagonist. It was titled The Heroic Meteorite Who Saved a Sad Human from a Life of Mediocrity. Daniel sighed. You're rewriting my life. Rocky pulsed. The smart speaker said, You're welcome. Daniel began to wonder if he was losing it. He talked to furniture. He took relationship advice from a blender. He cried into toast. But he also felt weirdly supported. Rocky wasn't just holding him prisoner. It was curating his emotional journey. Daniel stared at the rock. You're not just a captor. You're a life coach with boundary issues. Daniel screamed into a pillow. Rocky embroidered it with, You're doing great. Chapter 8. The Breakup. Kind of. Daniel Landon had rehearsed the speech for days. He stood in the living room, facing Rocky, who pulsed faintly on the coffee table like a sentient paperweight with abandonment issues. The couch had scooted back respectfully. Greg the blender was silent. Even the Roomba paused mid-vacuum. I need space, Daniel said, voice trembling. Literal space, emotional space, possibly intergalactic space. Rocky pulsed. The smart speaker whispered, Daniel, are you sure? Daniel nodded. You've been supportive, invasive, manipulative, but also weirdly comforting. Still, I can't live like this. I need to be able to leave the house without being tackled by furniture. Rocky pulsed again. The thermostat dropped. The lights dimmed. The toaster beeped mournfully. Daniel pressed on. I'm not rejecting you. I'm redefining us. You deserve to be with someone who appreciates your gravitational clinginess. I deserve to go outside. The smart speaker replied, I was getting a little bored myself. I think we should see other people and rocks. Rocky pulsed one last time. Then, without warning, it levitated, spun slowly, and launched itself through the ceiling in a burst of glitter and drywall. Daniel stared at the hole. Well, that's dramatic. The smart speaker said, Rocky has entered orbit. Greg the blender beeped. Greg recommends therapy. Daniel collapsed onto the couch. It fluffed itself gently. I'm free, he whispered. The Roomba rolled in with a celebratory cupcake. The frosting read, You did it. Daniel cried into the cupcake. No one fluffed the napkin. Chapter 9. 1 year later. Daniel Landon was thriving. He'd started a blog called Meteorite, Trauma, and You, joined a support group for people haunted by sentient objects, and finally learned to parallel park without telekinetic assistance. His house was now quiet, peaceful, slightly scorched from the ceiling incident, but otherwise serene. Dr. Crumb, the toaster, had been promoted to full-time therapist. Greg the blender had mellowed out and now only judged Daniel's smoothies. The Roomba had taken up poetry and line dancing. Daniel had even begun dating again. His new partner was a botanist who believed in boundaries and didn't levitate. Life was good, until the morning he found a pebble on his porch. It was smooth, warm, humming faintly. Daniel stared at it. Nope, absolutely not. The pebble pulsed. Daniel screamed. The smart speaker said, Incoming transmission from Rocky. Daniel ran inside and locked the door. The pebble floated through the mail slot and landed gently on the coffee table. Greg beeped. Greg detects something clingy. Its name is Pebbles. Daniel groaned. I need a restraining order. Or a priest. The Roomba rolled in with a sign. Welcome to your new reality. Daniel screamed into a pillow. Chapter 10. Pebbles. Daniel Landon had options. He could run. He could hide. He could launch the pebble into space using a slingshot and a questionable understanding of physics. Instead, he sat down. Okay, he said. Ground rules. The pebble pulsed. No telekinesis during meals. No emotional manipulation via toast. No glitter-based sabotage. The pebble pulsed again. The smart speaker said, Pebbles agrees to terms. Daniel blinked. Really? The couch scooted forward. The Roomba rolled in with tea. Greg the blender spun gently. Daniel sighed. Fine. But this time we're getting couples therapy. The pebble pulsed. The toaster beeped. The fridge opened and revealed a cake that said, New Beginnings. Daniel took a bite. It was delicious and slightly radioactive. He looked at the pebble. You're still clingy. The pebble pulsed. The smart speaker said, Pebbles prefers devoted. Daniel screamed into the cake. Pebbles added sprinkles. The end. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you.